we're going to talk a little bit about paperwork and records. So there's a lot of different types of paperwork and records that you, as a shop owner, shop operator, have to keep on hand. Let's start with financials. So we talked a little bit about profit and loss statement. Well, you're going to have daily, what you could call cash in or deposit statements. So you're going to have some type of a sheet to track on a daily basis what money you started in the registers with, what sales came in, what you spent money on today, and how that came down to a bottom line of what you made and what did you deposit to the bank. That's every single day. You, as either the owner or a manager, will be checking the registers and comparing what did they call it, the starting till or the base till. Generally speaking, when a cashier starts the day, they have $100 or something on hand. So you're going to check that to make sure it's accurate. You're also going to keep a record of what sales occurred today. How many of a particular part? How much from this customer? What was the average sale? Now, this is the exact reason why so many facilities, even independent facilities, are using a computerized system like Mitchell or ShopKey or Reynolds and Reynolds. There's different management systems. AllData has one. These management systems are out there because they allow one place where, as long as you're entering all the data correctly, you're making the repair order right, just like we talked about, you're doing your 3Cs, you're building the parts list on it correctly, you're doing all of those items, then what's going to happen is when the customer checks out and they've paid for that repair order, you have a record then of exactly what parts were sold, who they were gone from, cost, discounts, profit, okay, which is of course income minus cost. And then as the owner or the manager, you're keeping track of expenses, which are not cost. Remember, the costs are what you're being charged for parts and fluids for a specific job. Your expenses are what's there all the time. Your utilities, your payroll, things like that. So you're going to keep track of your expenses too. So every dollar in and every dollar out have to be accounted for. So this is going to come into play because at the end of the year, you're going to have to, of course, make sure you can give W-2s. Remember, that's the receipt to every single one of your employees on what did they make, how much did you withhold for taxes, how much did you withhold for their health insurance, etc. That's where the value of having a company like ADP or QuickBooks, or there's a couple of different companies out there, but they do payroll work. So essentially you pay them a fee, monthly, quarterly, yearly, depending on what your agreement is, and they take care of doing all the calculations, making sure that the checks either get cut or that direct deposits happen. And most businesses like doing direct deposit now. It's safer. You don't have the argument of, well, where's my check? I know you say you cut it, but I can't find it. And it's cheaper, honestly. There's no paper involved. And since there's no paper involved, for a lot of businesses, it's less expensive. So, on top of all of this, your tax info is going to be accurately shown. You'll have a receipt for how much you withheld for customers. You'll have a receipt for, not customers, I'm sorry, employees. you'll have a receipt for how much you paid into the health plan. Um, Now, part of what you're going to have to show in your yearly taxes to the government is how much did you make on that. So, in terms of what financial paperwork you're going to have to show as a business, obviously there's all the payroll stuff that we just talked about. You're also going to have to submit what your sales were and the tax that you collected from customers for that. Now, every state is a little different, because remember, this is a state function. Okay, some states will allow like quarterly payments. Some states you pay annually, but that's the tax that the business is going to pay. All right, so you can understand how this can get complicated very quickly. And this ties back to when we did the P&L. When you have EBITDA or EBIT, earnings before interest and taxes, then this is where the taxes come in. Now, as a business, remember when we talked about benefits for employees, we talked about a 401k and a 529c and how you can use that to lower your amount of income. Interest, the amount of money that the business has to pay the bank back for lending it, it can actually lower the amount of money it made, and so lower how much it owes the government. So that's when you hear about companies saying they're going to report a loss. The company might have actually made money through the year, but if over the course of the whole year it spent more money, or it actually spent enough money that what the government sees as it having made was in the negative, that's how a company reports a loss. Now, so that's all financial paperwork that you have to keep on hand. And you can see how it goes, daily builds to weekly, that builds to monthly, that builds to quarterly, that builds to annual. That's kind of how a business's paperwork goes. Now, your daily paperwork is being put together and filed and held, and that is eventually going to build up a monthly report. And then your monthly reports are going to come together, and they're going to build up a quarterly report. How did you do in this quarter of the year? And then that's going to come together to do annual, and that's where your taxes and all are going to come in. This could get really complicated, especially for us who we're not tax professionals. We're not financial planners. So there's a good reason why a lot of businesses, a lot of shops are going to hire payroll companies. They're going to hire tax companies. Sometimes you can even find a company that'll do all of that. They'll do literally what they call all your bookkeeping. So your taxes, your record keeping, your payroll, all gets done from one company. So what else are you going to have to keep on hand? Well, remember back in the first week of this class, we talked about safety stuff. Material safety data sheets. Anytime you're bringing a new chemical in, you have to keep a record of it. Also why a lot of places go to doing it online now. It's simpler, it's easier, it doesn't take up room. You're going to have some type of service information system, a way of keeping track of the vehicles you're servicing and what their service info is. You're going to have to keep track of just the work you've done, because for legal reasons, what if a customer wants to come back and say you didn't give them what they paid for? You have to keep track of what did they approve, what did they not approve, what did the tech do, because all of that can get caught in the court. Work orders are a legal document. They are evidence. They will go in the court. Okay. So you have your work orders, and obviously the history, customer histories, so that we can reach out to customers for birthdays and things. Also to keep track of their mileage, and we can build that relationship. Loyalty programs based again off what work was done and all. So there's a whole set of financial info. There's a whole set of customer database info. There's also a whole set of accident and safety info. You have to have the safety instructions for every piece of equipment that your shop provides. You have to have a record of every training you've made available to your techs. Now, what that means is, if one of your techs refuses to come to a training, unless you make it mandatory, well, that's his choice or her choice. But quite frankly, you need to keep a record that you offered it. Okay, that's usually why the first day or two on a new job as a new tech somewhere, they're not going to let you touch a car. You're going to sit in front of a computer and you're going to do training that's going to include safety and rules and regulations and understanding what your job is and all of that. Because the stuff we talked about earlier this week on firing, that has to be done and locked in and ready to go. So there is a lot of record keeping between, do you have any accidents? Have any accidents happened in your shop? Whether it be we're talking vehicular accidents like damage to cars, or safety accidents. Vehicular damage could be a legal issue. It's definitely going to be insurance. Safety accidents could be called into question legally, but also through OSHA and different government agencies. Think about, again, we talked about yesterday, your waste fluids, brake fluid, oil, antifreeze. What are you doing with it? Where is it going? How is it being handled? Are you having Safety Clean come out and deal with it? Are you burning it in a waste oil burner? Are you keeping track of how many gallons in and how many gallons out? They want to make sure that you're not just taking it out back and putting it down the drain so that it goes into the river. And ultimately, this is really the big dangerous part that you have to keep in mind. I didn't know I was supposed to do that, or I don't know, or I wasn't aware, does not work as a defense if you're a business owner. You will still be fined by the government. You will still go to court. So what you have to assume is that you're going to have to keep a record of everything you do. This is why a lot of times if you look at an older shop, or if you look at somebody who's running it kind of under an older management system, you'll see they'll either have an attic or maybe they have a basement, and there's just shelves of files. And it's like once every 10 years they'll do a clean out. Okay? But most newer businesses, they're going to keep almost everything in their computer system. What they are going to keep are hard copies of signed off contracts, agreements, work orders. That's why if you go to a dealership today and you look behind the cashiers, a lot of times you'll just see rows of files. Those are the service histories, the signed repair orders, signed invoices. They'll usually keep a hard copy on hand from anywhere from 3 to 5 years, 3 to 7 years is about what I've seen. A lot of businesses might even keep it for a year, and then what they'll do is they'll pay a service to scan it and save it digitally. And we talked about over the whole run of this course, there's a lot of reasons. What I hope you're getting from this point in this lesson is your financial records, your health records, safety records, customer database. The more knowledge you have, the more accumulated records you have, Really, that's what helps appreciate, grow the value of your business. Um, you might be the best repair shop out there, but if you don't have a customer database, if you don't have a list that grows, if you can't show potential employees that you're serious about taking care of them as an employee and keeping them safe, you're really not going to go very far. So all of this record keeping is about keeping money in your pocket, helping your business grow, and taking it up a level every day. Um, you know, you ought to have an inventory. What tools have you bought? What equipment have you bought? When did you buy it? When was it last maintenance? Yeah. What's your preventative maintenance schedule? How often do you have somebody come out and take a look at your lifts? When is the inspection due on them? These are all part of your record keeping. Shops that have sloppy record keeping, I'm not going to say they're not successful. They might be. But they're not as successful as they could be. And that's what the lesson here is. So just understand that a big part of management and owning really is record keeping. And there's going to be a whole slew of different types of records. The more careful, more detailed you are with keeping those records, the more successful you are likely to be.